just come to sit any way that's comfortable for you. And if it feels good, for me it always feels good just to wobble a little bit to sort of settle into your spot. And as you arrive, notice the two halves of your pelvis and see if you can be as even as you can between the two halves. And if you aren't cross-legged like I am, it won't be completely even. So just know that, but do the best you can. And then once you have that evenness between the right and left, let's take your hands here on the top of the pelvis and you'll tilt forward and back like you would do for a cat-cow. Just a couple times back and forth. And see if you can feel the buttock bones, also known as the sitting bones, or the ischial tuberosity, is that little kind of bony protrusion at the base of the pelvis. And the next time you rock, just ever so slightly forward from that. So in the middle, but a teensy bit forward. Let's pause there and let the hands rest. Let your face relax, your eyes close, and create a little bit of a lift up through the base of your skull, and a little bit of a release through your jaw. And just take a few easy breaths. And let's we'll do a little bit of a listening meditation here. Hopefully you hear the sound of the rain. And see if you can just take in all of the sounds around you. That could be sounds inside your home, outside. You hear all of these sounds together at the same time. Take a deeper, fuller breath. Let your head bow down, let your back round, just come into a C curve position. And then we'll let the heart come forward. Eyes can be open or closed here. It's just kind of a slow motion cat-cow from your seated shape. And in a moment, we will do a similar action laying down on your back, but when we're on the back, it'll be smaller. We've got some sirens outside. Got a little good energy that way. Right, let's let the movement settle. Stretch your legs out long in front of you and just give a little wobble, a little wiggle in the legs, maybe a little circle or movement in the feet. Anything that you need there. And then we'll make our way onto our back with the knees bent, the feet on the floor. And just be in a comfortable position. If you do need something under the head, anything is fine. Not too high, but just a little bit of lift might feel good. And then just like we settled in our seat, take a moment to settle in this position. Maybe it's a little wobble or a little wiggle, just to find a good spot. And now bring your awareness to the two halves of your pelvis, right and left. And without letting the legs move, tip your pelvis so the right half is a little heavier and the left side is a little lighter. So if we were standing, this would be kind of a twist, but it's really, really small. And then you'll come back to center, press the left half of the pelvis down and let the right half lighten up. And just take this slowly back and forth, one side and the other side. Most of us have a little bit of a discrepancy. The two halves of the pelvis aren't completely even. So when it feels like you're as even as you can be between the two halves, pause there. One side still might be a little more weighted than the other. And then we'll change our movement. This one will be more like cat-cow. So let the pelvis rock more towards the tailbone, but don't be overly aggressive with this. Just let it be kind of small. So it creates a small arch in the lower back. And then we'll go the other direction. Let the navel draw towards the floor. The tailbone will tilt up, but the hips are on the floor. So take this a few times with breath. Inhale, we'll rock forward, create a little arch in the low back. Exhale, the belly will hollow down and the tailbone will move away from the floor. So take this a few times, back and forth. And then I'll ask you to slow the exhales down a little bit. And as you do, really let the belly hollow down and even create a little pause on this position before you inhale. Don't hold the breath, but just a little bit of a pause. And then when you inhale comes, let it go. So do that a few times, really slow exhale, the little pause at the end. And then the inhale, you'll let it relax. So take that one a few times more. So this exhale with that hollow belly, it's kind of deep core muscles, yeah? I think just really deep in the body. Engagement there every time the exhale happens and that little pause. We'll take it one more time. And then just come into your neutral. Bring your awareness to the very tip of the tailbone, and this next movement will be tiny. You're going to use your tailbone to draw a circle, and we'll make the circle about the size of a quarter, so it's really, really small. And see if you can use the muscles in the lower abdomen to maneuver the circle around. The tailbone that's kind of drawing the circle, but it's the low belly muscles that are steering. Yeah. So as you're making the circle, you'll feel one side engage, other side engage. And then let's make the circle go the other direction. At first, just think about the tip of the tailbone and let the movement be as smooth and as round as you can. Now keep the motion going, but bring your attention to the lowest part of the abdomen, just kind of below the navel and above the pubic bone, and let that be what's controlling the movement. Deep core, very different from any kind of sit-up exercise or anything like that. Yeah. All right, and then just pause, back to center. Now we'll take the feet a little bit wider than you have them. The pelvis is in the middle. Let the knees drop over to the right side. And then when you come back to center, think about the left half of the pelvis drawing down towards the floor. So you'll engage the left side of the abdomen to do that. Coming back to center. Let's inhale. And on the exhale, drop over to the other side. So really slow. Inhale once you get there. And on the exhale, press the right half of the pelvis towards the floor. Inhale at the top. Exhale to drop over. Inhale once you get there. And exhale, press the left pelvis down and come back up to the center. Inhale at the top. Exhale to drop over. Now, so continue this. If you forget about the inhales and the exhales are when you're moving. And the inhales are the pause. So we've all done these windshield wipers before. Just a little bit of a different focus. All right, friends, next time you come back to center, let's pause there. Lift the legs, bring the knees in towards your chest, and just draw a little circle using your arms to draw the circle. This one's more of a circle on the sacrum, and then go the other direction. All right, we're going to keep the legs off the floor, and let's come into an upside down tabletop position. So lift the feet, and your shins are roughly parallel to the floor. Now, in this position, don't actively tuck the pelvis, but also don't actively arch the back. Just land in whatever position you kind of automatically landed. And don't let that change. If this is feeling pretty easy for you, let the legs come a little bit forward, like another inch or so. Don't go too far, just a little bit. We're going to hold this position. Yeah. And then we're going to keep the legs in whatever situation you have them in. If you're feeling good to lift the arms, let's do that. Arms just in front of the chest, palms facing each other. And then from here, bring the left knee in towards your chest. Let the right leg lengthen. Take right hand to the inside of the left leg. Breathe in. On the exhale, press hand and leg into each other. Let it be a slow exhale. Inhale, back off. Let's do 2 more. Slow exhale, press hand and leg into each other. And back off. And then when you exhale, see if you can find that hollow belly so the belly draws down. And then back off. We're going to go straight to side 2. Right arm straight up. Left hand to right knee, and then the left leg goes long. Inhale. Slow exhale with the pressure. Belly hollows down. Inhale to back it off. 2 more times. Slow exhale with the pressure. And back it off. Last one. And back it off. Bring both knees in towards your chest. Just wiggle around a little bit. Anything is fine. Yep. And then we'll go with this one. I think you guys have done this one with me before. Let's hold your head with the left hand. Take right hand, instead of to the inner left knee, take it kind of to the front of the left leg on the quad there. And then stretch the right leg out long. On the right hand to left leg, press them into each other. And then the straight right leg, just let it go up and down. But pay attention to a couple things. Don't let the pelvis rock and roll. Don't let it do cat-cow. And see if you can draw the navel down towards the floor rather than letting it pop up towards the ceiling. If you want to add breath, I like to exhale on the way down and inhale up, but whatever makes sense to you is fine. I didn't count these. Let's just take 1 more, and then we're going to change sides. Left hand to right leg. Left leg goes long. And then from here, find the pressure, and then up and down goes the left leg. Keep the navel moving towards the floor, and keep the pressure, hand and leg, and try not to let the pelvis rock and roll. This side I'm finding a little harder, but you can hear it in my voice, huh? All right, and then last one. Let's again come back in, take a little movement. We'll just do 1 more thing down here. So let's now interlace the hands. Let's do over the left leg, stretch the right leg long. And now press leg into arm so much that the upper body lifts a little bit. Stay here, the back is rounded, hollow the belly. And then you'll come down, change sides, other side. Left leg goes long, press the shin into the hands as you come up. Belly is hollow. Yeah, come down, keep the knee bent, and let's take a twist. And don't worry, we'll get the other side. Take right leg over to the left. And then we'll stay on this side, come back to center, put your hands behind the thigh, stretch the leg up, and just move the foot and the ankle around a little bit. Just a little stretch for the hamstring and for any part of the leg here. And then we'll release that. Going to second side, let's bring the left knee in, and we'll do the hamstring first. So stretch the leg up, add any kind of movement in the foot, the ankle, the toes. Right, friends, and then we're gonna bend the knee and twist, bring the left leg over to the right side. Okay, and then we'll come back to center here. Let's reset onto hands and knees position. So you can take any way you want to get there is fine. And feel free to put padding under the knees if you need that. When you first arrive, we did a lot of work here for the belly, so it might feel good just to let the belly stretch a little. And it might feel better to not do that, and you can just move around a little bit. So take a second for anything at all. Now we're going to do some more core work, but from the all fours position. So let's stretch the right leg back, tuck the toes under, and just give yourself a little bit of movement to stretch out through the back of the leg. And then we'll pause here and pull the left knee just about an inch forward, not too far. Can you broaden the collarbones? Can you lift the belly? And we want to keep the pelvis and the spine more or less in neutral. Inhale. On the exhale, press the top of the left foot into the floor and hover the left knee, and it's not going to go high. On the inhale, set it back down. So take that a few more times. Nice slow exhale. The belly hollows without rounding the back. Yeah? Good, good. And then let's take last one. Hold in the up position. Go ahead now, do round the back. And if it feels all right to pull, you can lift the foot. You can pull the knee closer to the forehead. We're gonna come down, bring the knee to the floor, turn the back heel down, turn the chest open, lift the right arm and circle the wrist. And then we'll set the hand down and take a quick child's pose. Spider fingers in both hands, take a little wobble. And we'll repeat the same thing on side two. So set up for your all fours. Take the left leg back at first, just give your, oh, that feels good. Just a little stretch. And then let's pause here. Scooch the right knee slightly forward. Broaden the collarbones, lift the belly, keep your spine and your pelvis neutral. Right top of the foot presses down, hover the knee. And then down we go. Do that a couple of times. On the exhale, lift, but keep the top of the foot pressing down. Keep the pelvis and the spine in your neutral. And then on this next one, we'll stay in the up position. Go ahead now, do round the back, lift the foot if that feels all right, and draw knee and forehead closer together. We'll set the knee down to the floor, turn the back heel down, turn open, raise the left arm, and circle out the hand and the wrist. All right, down comes the hand. Let's go back to child's pose again. Toes tucked under if you can do that. With both hands, take spider fingers. Take a little wobble, just a little movement from side to side. All right, and then from here, friends, let's come down onto your belly and we'll create a little bit of the same movement we did, which is a bit counterintuitive now that we're on the belly. Scooch the legs one at a time back and down just to give a little extra room. Keep your forehead resting on the hands. Breathe in. And now on the exhale, can you find that, not exactly the same, but kind of that hollow belly, lifting the belly, and the pubic bone will move downward towards the floor. It may or may not actually get there. On the inhale, relax the belly. Do this a few times slowly. So nice slow exhale, the belly lifts. And on the inhale, relax. You know, you might feel a natural, I don't want to say tuck of the pelvis, but it kind of goes that direction, like a lengthening sensation in the lower back. Go ahead and go with that if that's happening. But if you're finding a death grip, a squeeze around the tailbone, see if you can release that a little bit. Let the work come from the belly rather than from the tush. Yeah. So next time we're in the belly lifted position, stay there. Pull back through the legs, let the legs hover, and they're not gonna lift high. That's because we have the pelvis and the belly in this position. Yeah, good. And then relax, keep the forehead resting, bend the knees, give the legs a little swish back and forth. All right, and then from here, friends, let's put the legs back down. Go into child's pose with the toes tucked under. And then don't go all the way back, so it looks like you're about to pounce. Lift the knees off the floor, press the mat forward with your hands, drawing the hips back. And at the very tops of the thighs, press wide apart. If you look back, you'll see the knees widen when you do that. Now we want to counter that. Pull the ankles in just enough that the knees point forward and the weight is on the ball of the big toe. Don't go more than that. Yes, just enough. And then slowly, slowly let the legs start to lengthen. Sometimes if hammies are tight, we get to a certain point and then we end up shifting forward towards plank. If that's happening for the moment, just keep the knees bent. Keep the mat pressing forward. Yeah. All right, and now go ahead, keep the upper body in its position, but if you want to move a little bit through the lower body, you can. Maybe pedal the legs or shift the hips around. Yeah, gradually let's let the feet start to widen apart. Just take a little walk in place. And then once you're in position here with wide legs, we'll bend both knees, walk your hands to the back of the mat, and just prop yourself up with the forearms on the thighs. Move the inner groins back and move the chest forward. Press down into the feet and use the inhale to rise. All the way up we come. Release the arms. Yeah. Stay at the back of the mat, just a nice easy stance. Take a little movement. Movement in the spine, movement in the legs, arms and shoulders. Yeah. All right, friends. And then let's pause here and we'll spend a little bit of time in mountain pose. So let's stay at the back of your mat, feet hips width distance apart, and just a couple of times shift forward towards the toes and back towards the heels. And notice as you take this little shift, there's kind of a cat-cow going on in the pelvis. Now, see if you can find the place where your weight is at the front of the heels, not all the way back, but not forward towards the toes, front of the heels. Yeah, stay there. I'm going to have my back to you for a second. And now think about from the back of the knee to the buttocks, kind of lifting up through the hamstrings. But at the same time, from the low back down to the buttocks, kind of draw down. So the hamstrings are lifting up, the buttocks are drawing down. Lift up through the low belly, lift up through the arms. I'm going to say a few things that counter each other. From the triceps to the pinkies, lengthen up towards the ceiling. But then from the thumbs down to the inner shoulders, let that descend. Now that we are working on the arms, notice where your weight is on the feet. For a lot of us, it shifts forward. See if you can go back to the front of the heels. Arms are long, legs are long. Inhale. Exhale, we're down, forward fold. Just soften, you can bend the knees if you wish. Take a halfway lift here, move the heart forward, and then lower yourself down, and we'll meet in plank pose. You can take a plank alternative if you want. We're gonna be here for a bit. Also, alternatives could be on the knees, on all fours position, or on the elbows if you need to do that. Can you clear the shoulders? Can you lift the belly like we did in the all fours position? And without moving your hands, try to pull the thumbs in towards the midline. That'll engage the chest and help the torso lift a little bit. Now we're coming down. If your legs are straight, let's put the knees down to the floor for a second. Lift up again through the low belly. Keep the thumbs pulling in towards the midline, and then in slow motion, we'll land on the belly. See if you can land everything in one piece. Very, very slowly down we go. And as you're lowering, create a little resistance, almost like you're trying not to lower down, but you are lowering down. Keep the thumbs hugging the midline. And then once you come down, take a little rest. You can lengthen back through the legs. Let's take another, the forehead pillow. So just stack your hands, rest your forehead. Give the legs a little wiggle here. Now, similar to what we did with the belly lift, but we're gonna have the feet in a different position. Can you tuck the toes under here? And you might not get them very well tucked under, and that's okay. So from this position, can you all at the same time lift through the belly, press back through the heels so the knees lift up off the floor? Just notice what's going on in the pelvis and the lower back, and then back off. Yeah, let's inhale for the back off. And on the exhale, lift the belly, press back through the heels, feel the knees lift up off the floor. And then on the inhale, back up. Do that 2 more times. I know it's not very exciting, but actually I think it's very exciting. It's not a large movement, is what I should have said. All right, so here we are. Legs are long, belly is engaged. Go ahead and stretch back through the toes. Let the toes land on the floor. Take a little wobble. And then we'll meet back in downward facing dog. Adho Mukha Svanasana. And from your downward dog, friends, let's meet in a standing forward fold. Any way you want to arrive there is fine. Keep the knees bent, and either have the hands to the floor or blocks, and if you can't reach easily, bring the forearms onto the thighs, and just so that you're not dangling, and then take a little bit of a side-to-side sort of movement. Now, to get out of this, before we come up to stand, let's pause. Without moving your legs, press the thighs wide apart, tone through the belly, and on the inhale, come all the way up to stand just like that. And then release the arms. Yeah. All right, let's stand wherever you are and just circle, a little hula hoop asana. And then go the other direction. I'm looking at the rain and it's like a river, the road, and every time a car goes past, just water everywhere. All right, friends, let the movement settle here. And if you have blocks, go ahead and set them up at the front of your mat. And we'll be taking a few things with the knee down. So if you need padding for a knee, go ahead and set that up too. And let's be at the front of the mat. We'll do mountain pose the same way that we did before. So first, shift around until you find the weight right at the front of your heels. And then from there, think of lifting up through the belly, lifting up through the hamstrings, but letting the buttocks flesh draw down. And if that's just not making sense, just imagine that the skin and the flesh could kind of lift up here and drop down there, even if you don't actually feel anything. And then we'll take the arms up, triceps to the pinkies lift, thumbs to the inner shoulder relax down. If you shifted forward, I did, come back so you're right at the front of the heels. Inhale. Exhale, down we go, forward fold. Feel free to bend the knees if you need. Come up halfway, lengthen. And then lower yourself down here on blocks or not with the hands. Take the right leg back with the knee down. And if you can have the toes straight back, do. If that's bothersome and you need to have the toes tucked under, do that. All right, so we're coming up, hands to the hips. And can you back the pelvis up just a little bit? Without going anywhere, try to press the center of the right shin down towards the floor. At the same time, lift up through the belly. At the same time, so we've got this going on. Take the hands to the top of the left thigh, press down and let your body, your back round, a little bit like cat pose. Keeping all of that, shin pressing down, belly lifting up, hands pressing into the leg. Slowly start to shift forward a little bit. So my plan is for the abdomen to be engaged and you to get a little or a big stretch in the front of the right thigh. All right, back off of this. Let's come forward and down. Hands can be on the floor or the blocks. Take a few back and forth here just to stretch the left hamstring. I won't talk about this one too much. Just do anything that works for you. And then let's pause in the forward position and we'll take kind of a twist. Take left hand to left thigh with the fingers facing in. Press the hand down as you turn. Now, can you lift the low belly? Some of you will be happy just to stay here. Some of you will be happier to bend the back knee, reach back and find the foot. Yeah? Now, if you look at my leg, I'm not on the tip of the knee. I'm ahead of that. It's more on the thigh. If the knee is kind of straight down like this, that's going to feel pretty awful on the knee. All right, whatever position you're in, again, find that lift through the belly and try to lengthen the spine, even though we're in this asymmetrical shape. Yeah. All right, so if you have the foot, very, very gently, let it come down. Yeah. Let's tuck the back toes under, lift the back knee, and then maybe your hands are on blocks here. We're going to create some stability. So can you press the left heel down into the floor and try to press it forward? Can you press the right toes down into the floor and try to press them back? Yeah? Without going anywhere, move the heart forward and try to lift the belly a little bit off the thigh. Now from here, just a couple of times, think of the front heel and the back toes pulling towards each other on the diagonal and then back off. Do that a few times. It's not super aggressive, like don't do 100%, maybe do 30%. Yeah, great. And then from here, we'll pause. If you're on blocks, let's get rid of them. Go straight into your downward dog position. Let's take it a little wider than you normally do. Bend the knees, press the mat forward, press the upper thighs wide. Look at your feet and look at the knees. Hug the ankles in enough so your feet align and knees point forward, but not more than that. Yeah? Slowly let the legs start to go straighter if that feels okay. Let's keep that widening through the upper thighs, drawing in through the ankles, and then let the heels start to release towards the floor. They may or may not actually get there. Yeah. All right, friends, from your downward facing dog, let's bring the feet just closer together. They don't have to touch, and forward to the top of the mat. We're just taking a halfway lift as a transition. On the way down, step the left leg back, knee down on the floor, and if it's okay for you to have the toes pointing straight back, do it that way so we can press into the shin a little bit more. Hands come to the pelvis, back up a little bit. Press the back shin towards the floor, at the same time lift the belly. So we've got this up and down happening at the same time. Hands press on the top of the right thigh, press down, let the back round a little bit, and then let the whole unit shift forward slightly. So again, we're pressing down in the shin, lifting up through the belly. Then hold just for a second. Hopefully getting a little stretch or maybe a big stretch in the front of the left leg. Let's back off, bring yourself down, take a few rounds to stretch the right hamstring. Any version is fine. All right, friends, we'll pause with the front knee bent. I like no blocks. You can do whatever you want. And then we'll take right hand to the top of the right thigh, fingers facing in. Press down as you turn. Lift through the belly. Yeah. If this is where you want to stay, you're golden. Just stay put. If you're adding on, you bend the back knee. And you could do this without holding it. Maybe you can reach. Right hand to left foot. Everybody, keep that lift through the belly. And we'll just hold the position for a little bit. My left side is way tighter than the right. Yeah, those of you who have the foot, very, very gently let it go. And now we'll do lunge with some stability. So take your blocks if you're using them. Tuck the back toes under, lift the back knee. Let's start on the back leg for this one. Try to press the toes towards the back of the mat. Press the right heel down and towards the front of the mat. And this too, not super aggressive. On Monday we did like super duper, just kind of medium here. Hold that. Can you lengthen the torso forward? Create a little lift through the belly. And now, instead of pressing out, we're actually going to hug in on the diagonal. So pull in, just a little hug, and then back off. Do that a few times like a little pulse. That's it. All right, and then we'll pause. If you're on blocks, let's get rid of them. Go again to downward facing dog. And then let's take it again with the medium stance. So take the feet just a little wider. Slight bend in the knees, press the mat forward, widen through the thighs, bring the ankles in enough so the feet line up and the knees align, but not too much. Yeah? And then slowly start to lengthen out the legs. All right, let's take a little child's pose. Bring the knees down, bring the hips back, maybe add in a little wobble. All right, I think you guys all have blocks. Yeah, you do. Okay, great. So let me explain this next one. Come on up to stand. And one of there's a lot in here, but one of the sources of low back pain is the alignment between the pelvis and the thigh bone. And most of us stand in such a way that the thigh bones come forward. So if we draw a plumb line down, the pelvis is actually ahead of the ankles, and ideally it'll be a little back. Yeah, and you know, we can adjust that by shifting, finding the weight in the front of the heel. But if we're not paying attention, it'll just come back to this spot again. So we're gonna do something on the block. It's the lizard on the block. I think most of you've done this with me before. And the reason I have you do it is because the block brings the thigh bone back, and later when we come to stand, it'll feel different. Yeah, let's actually take a down dog as a pre-test. So come on down to your Adho Mukha Svanasana. And don't think about it too much, just take a little check-in, have a look at the legs. And notice kind of where they land and how they feel. And also notice how close the heels are to the floor. Okay. All right, so let me show the setup here. We'll have right leg back, left leg forward. And you'll set up like you would do in lunge, but the block is going to be on the highest height. It's not on the knee, but it's above the knee. And it could be, you can have the block really any which way. And you'll set it, the thigh on the block. Yeah? Arms are inside of the left leg, or you could use the other block for your hands. So it looks like this. It's kind of like the lunge we did earlier, but now we've got a block on the back leg. All right, so once you're in position there, let the back leg actually kind of relax a little on the block and bring your awareness into the right ball and socket joint. And just imagine this happening. It's really happening, but think about it. The ball is pressing, the block, is pressing the ball deeper into the socket or back or towards the ceiling in this situation. Yeah, if it feels okay to add in a little rock forward back, you can. If you've got a really hard block, this might not feel so good, so don't do it if it hurts you. But if you are doing it, you get a little bonus kind of foam roller, but square foam roller. You could also do a little side to side rock and be gentle. You don't want to twist the knee, but just think of, again, the block nestling into the leg and the ball going still deeper into the socket. Yeah, now pause here. If this is enough, stay or come out early. If you're still good for more, pick up the left arm and just prop it on the left leg in sort of a lazy manner. Then the right arm, if it feels okay, can also prop up, and it looks kind of casual, but there's a lot going on here. The back leg will have to activate a little bit just so that you stay up, but try not to go super fantastic with it, just enough to hold you up. Now, can you lift the belly away from the thigh without losing contact with the block? Yeah. Some of you might get another stretch on the front of the right thigh like we did in the previous position. All right, let's come out of this. Bring the arms down. Lift the back thigh just to pull the block out. And then let's go into downward facing dog. I like to just scooch the left leg wide and then get there. And let's take a little check-in. First, look at the legs. And if it worked, the right leg may have gone a little further back, and as a result, the right heel might appear closer to the floor. And then let's do the second side. And if it didn't work, don't worry. Sometimes it does, sometimes it doesn't. So that'll be right leg forward, left leg back, block under the left thigh, not on the knee, above the knee, on the thigh, highest height of block. Maybe there's a block under your hands and the arms are to the inside of the right leg. Yeah. And this side is just my tight side. So as you settle into your shape, just think about it. The ball is going deeper into the socket as the block is pushing it back. If you wanted to add a little rock, forward, back, you could. If you wanted to add a little rock side to side, you could. Just be mindful not to twist the knee. I'll have to ask you guys later if one side was so different than the other. I'm always amazed how different the two sides are. All right, so let's pause here, and if you are up for it, take the right forearm to the right thigh, just in sort of a casual manner. Maybe that's enough, or maybe the left arm comes up too. I used to call this one lizard pose waiting for the bus, asana, and I would just always call it that. And one time I had this guy, he was adorable. English was not his first language, and he was kind of new to yoga. So he just thought that was the name of the pose, was lizard pose, lizard waiting for the bus. And one time I had a sub, and he asked for that pose, and she had no idea. It was kind of funny. She told me about it. All right, so stay here. If you can lift the belly away from the thigh, do, without lightening up on the block. Keep the back thigh on the block. All right, enough is enough. Down we come. Let's lift the back thigh to pull the block out. Head into downward facing dog. And then, wow, check it out, yogis. Hopefully your results are as good as mine. My thighs, both of them are further back. Now my left one's actually a little further than the right. And both of my heels are closer to the floor without any effort through the backs of the legs. Now let's check out our standing position. So come into forward fold, root down through the legs, inhale all the way up we come, and then release. Yeah? Try not to think about it so much, just land in your standing position. And without shuffling around, see where your weight naturally goes on the feet. And it might feel like you're a little further back than you normally are. For me, if I don't pay attention and I just like find it, I'm typically more towards the ball of the foot, but ideally we're a little further back. Yeah. All right, so let's pause, take a little hula hoop, celebration. And then we'll go the other direction. And then let's do a few symmetrical poses from here. This one is probably my favorite, just for a quick low back release. So you'll stand a bit wider than you normally do. Bend the knees, crisscross the forearms, and have the hands high on the inner thighs, and just rest the forearms on the tops of the thighs. Use your hands to press both back and apart. And I know it's a funny looking one, but I think it really does the job. So hands are pressing back and apart. At the same time, can you lengthen, like a telescope, lengthen the torso, the rib cage forward, but the thighs keep pressing back and apart. Now this is very subtle, a little bit. Can you bring the inner heel more towards the floor and think of the inner heel reaching back, and that might affect your pose a little bit more. All right, to get out of this, bend the knees a little more deeply. Undo the arms, press out just on your own with the thighs, and come all the way up to stand. All right, release the arms. Let's take another one. If you need blocks for doing a wide forward fold, you can go get blocks for underneath your hands. Now, before we go down, have a look-see at your feet. Make sure the toes are pointing forward and that they're not, so they're not turned out. And also make sure one foot's not more forward than the other. Bend the knees a little bit and hinge from the hip crease to come down, and we'll land the hands right underneath your shoulders, on blocks maybe, on your fingertips maybe. Knees are a little bit bent, and like we did a second ago with your hands, press wide through the upper thighs. Notice what that does in your feet. And you press down through the ball of the big toe enough so the weight feels even, like you've got a good even footprint, but don't go too much so that the outer foot lifts up. So it's just enough. Slowly let the legs start to go straighter. And keep the hips, legs, pelvis where it is. Walk the arms out. If you're on blocks, bring them with. And if you can go on fingertips, do so. Keep the thighs pressing apart and back. As the rib cage lengthens forward, create a little bit of tone, little lift through the lowest part of the belly. And we'll just stay here for a sec. So it's a little similar to down dog in the upper body. Now from here, start to walk the hands back, landing just underneath the shoulders. We'll just do that phase of the pose. Bend the knees a little bit. Widen the upper thighs, tone the belly, hands to the hips, hinge your way up to center. Don't round up for that. And then let's bring the legs back together and take another little hula hoop asana. All right, go the other direction. Yeah, so next let's take a little stretch just for the outer hips. We'll do a seated version, but if you need to do the laying down version, that's fine. Come on down, and if you're joining me here, set up like so the knees are bent, and go a little bit longer than you normally would. Cross the right ankle over the left thigh. And now, like we did those cat-cows earlier, can you rock the pelvis so you're more towards the sitting bones? Press into the floor with your hands, sit up nice and tall, like you're enjoying the sunshine. Yeah, even if you're enjoying the rain, enjoying the rain. Yeah. Now have a little peek at the right foot. We don't want the foot to sickle. Yeah, you want to keep an active foot, reach out through the inner heel. Keep that. That'll help stretch the hip more, and it'll also keep the knee aligned if you press the foot like that in this position. Yeah. Now, if you're not getting enough out of this, then you need more. Lift the pelvis and scooch the pelvis a little closer to the left foot, but go incrementally because a little can go a long way. And then once you're in a good spot, take a tiny little side to side little rock here. Alrighty. We'll come out of this, undo. Just stretch out the legs for a second. You can move the hands a little bit. If the hand position is not working out, you could go on your knuckles, fingertips, kind of half finger, whatever position works better instead of like this, you can do that. Let's lean back a little bit, bend the knees, cross the left one over. First, activate the foot, and then rock more towards the sitting bones. Press into the floor, lengthen. Now this might be enough, or maybe you lift the pelvis and pull it a little forward. I know that that's going to be too much for me, so I'm going to stay right here. You can add in a little rock, little side to side if you like. Funny, you were talking marathons before class, and since I've not been doing any, I've been not training, things are way less tight than they normally are. It's kind of amazing. All right, let's undo the leg. But they're also still tighter than you would think. You know, it's one of those. Wiggle out the legs, just give them a little blah, 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 blah. All right, so let me show this next one. It's a bridge variation. And Mary, this one might be okay for you if you can put like a blanket down with a little lift for the head. The blocks are gonna go like this on the diagonal. Your pelvis it's lifted, but it's very close to the floor. You'll wedge the blocks in so they're kind of supporting the sides of the butt cheeks, and they're like this the whole time, so they never go flat. And the sacrum is maybe an inch away from the floor. So it's not a high lift. Yeah. And what's nice about this one, it creates a lot of width through the back of the pelvis. It's a lot of space for the lower back. Depending on your setup, this may or may not be possible, but some of you might enjoy, you might have to hold on to the blocks, lifting the knees, and that just gives a little extra weight down and creates even more width through the back of the pelvis. If that's not to your liking, forget about it and just keep the feet on the floor. It becomes tiresome or burdensome after a while, you can bring the feet back down. All right, friends, let's lift the hips a little, just pull the blocks out of the way, bring them to the side. And then let's take the feet wide and just do a lazy windshield wiper. Any speed is fine. Any way you want to do it is fine. Now we did a few twists in the beginning of class. I'm going to leave it up to you if you have your favorite kind of twist. I'm going to show you one that you might like. For me, this actually feels really nice on the back. So I'm going to make my feet not quite so wide. I bump my hips towards the left, bring the knees up and to the right, and I like to put a block in between the knees. It gives me a little more space, actually in the top hip. If you don't want the block, that's fine. If you have a different twist you prefer, that's fine. Some other people like block under the bottom leg. That is an option too. You can put the block any which way. And then memorize what you've done on this side. We'll come back to the center. Do the second side. If you're doing the pose I just did, scooch the hips a little to the right side of the mat, and then knees come up and over to the left. And that little scooch beforehand just helps keep the spine in alignment as you twist. And when you're ready to come out, let's undo. Come back to center, reset yourself so you're symmetrical, and just for a moment, press the hands into the thighs. See if you can decompress a little bit through the pelvis and the lower back. This pressure is actually a little bit similar to when you were on the block, and it's moving the ball and socket around in the same sort of way. All right, so it's time for Shavasana. Yay, you can be any which way, any way you like. If you enjoyed that position like this and you want to do that as Shavasana, absolutely fine. Or maybe the thighs need some support, you could set up the blocks under the legs. Take whatever you like. And as you do, settle in. See if you can let all that effort be done. Allow your body to rest. Your attention to your face. Relax all around your eyes, around your jaw. a little area behind your ears. There'd be a nice opening, deepening through the inner ear. And take in all of the sounds that you hear. You can hear the rain. Little noises in your home, on the fridge, something like that. Can you hear the silence behind the sounds? Now your sound awareness, this listening, just to go away. Take a deeper, fuller breath. Start to bring some easy movement back into your body. Ready, bend your knees and roll over to one side. Press up from there into a seated position. Meet with hands at heart center. Thank your body for everything that it's able to do. And thank yourself for your own practice. Namaste.